And then the fourth person Siddhartha saw on that day, after seeing old age, sickness, and death, was he saw a sadhu. And a sadhu is a holy man, ascetic, a Hindu ascetic. And if you remember, ascetics are people who believe that by depriving the physical body, you can release the soul or spirit. So these people practice extreme forms of fasting, feats of discomfort. They might sit for years in front of a boulder, basically becoming like a rock, or next to a creosote bush in the desert, just swaying with the bush and the breeze, becoming one with the breeze, living off of water droplets, water raindrops, or bird droppings. And it was a hard life, but the idea was, if this physical vehicle we're in is illusion, or if it's transitory, if it's passing, let's minimize our care and focus on this body. Let's let the sex, drugs, and rock and roll go, and let's focus on these eternal things of the mind, of the spirit, these things that transcend the body. And so he meditated for years with these sadhus, but then one day during his meditation, he heard a teacher, it was a music teacher, teaching his student how to play. And it was a sitar, which it's like a guitar, but it has more strings, more range. And the teacher told the student, he said, if you tighten the string too tight, it will snap. But if it's too loose, you cannot play. And Siddhartha Gutama had like an aha moment at that point, and he realized you have to avoid extremes. You can reckon either ditch. The ditch of extreme austerity and asceticism, or the ditch of libertinism and indulging the senses. And so what he developed is what's called the Buddha's middle way. And the middle way was to avoid these extremes. That was the path to enlightenment. It reminds me a lot of Aristotle's virtue ethics, this idea of we need to let go of the excess and the deficiencies in our life. And Siddhartha vowed that he was going to meditate, to fast and meditate, and practice this ascetic lifestyle until he found the answer to human suffering. And this culminated under the Bodhi tree, where he had a 40-day fast. Sound familiar? Okay. Remember, this is about 600 years before Christ, or Jesus being tempted in the wilderness, but the parallels are quite stunning. So here's Siddhartha fasting for 40 days and nights under the Bodhi tree. He's rejected this idea of extreme asceticism, or let go and let Godism, and he's trying to find this balanced middle way. And what he's realizing is, just like we talked about the Hindu deconstruction of the self, that 1,000-petaled lotus of the heart, where you're deconstructing your roles and your relationships, that Siddhartha isn't just a son, right? He isn't just a teacher. He isn't just a Hindu. He isn't just from the subcontinent of India, but there's an essential core self beyond all of that. And in this deconstruction process, as he comes to the last petal, this last challenge, the whole time he's going through this process, the Lord of Darkness, of illusion, Mara, is trying to tempt him. And just like the temptations of Jesus, Mara has, in this sense, the vices are personified as like the daughters of Mara, where you have lust, jealousy, pride, greed, gluttony, all these different vices or appeals to the flesh to bind us to this world of illusion. And one by one, Siddhartha rejected them. He could not be enticed, either through pleasure or deterred by fear. He was going to follow this path to the end. And that last petal, that last deconstruction he had to undo was his own ego. Because your ego is the ultimate trap to hold you into this world of illusion. And so the Buddhist practice coming out of this is called annihilation of the self, where you literally have to put to death your own ego. You have to get rid of it if you want to have any hope of this universal cosmic mind. And so with that last petal, where Siddhartha rejects his own ego, and in the movie The Little Buddha, it's a great line. He said, "O Lord of my own ego, I see and declare you as pure illusion." And as he does this, all the illusion fades away and he becomes one with the universal mind. But in order to be one with the universal mind, you have to lose your individual egocentric mind. So that is the Buddha's death of self. And in dying to self, you can be connected to everything. And that is, reaching that place of nothingness is another way of talking about reaching a place of everythingness.